Okay guys, so I just want to do a quick recap because it's been a long weekend, just so everyone's on the same page here. There are three main things that I want you to know so far. That's motion tweens, shape tweens, and motion guides. Motion guides you can pretty much just do by changing your path of your motion tween. So that's kind of how you do motion guides now. But you can always do the classic motion guide if you want to as well. So let me just show you quickly here. I'm not going to make any fancy characters today. Just going to create a blue ball. So I've selected it, pressed F8 to make it a symbol, and I'll call it ball. This is a graphic. I'm going to show you in a second why I might want to do a movie clip, but for now, I'll just keep it a graphic. Now to move it across the screen, I simply right-click, create motion tween. But before I do that, I want to point out my timeline. There's just one frame. Once I do the motion tween, it's actually going to add frames to my timeline. So 24 frames is 1 second. So right now it's giving me 1 second of animation. Just for fun, I'm going to drag that out to 2 seconds, 48 frames. You can always see your frame count at the bottom. It's going to be too small for you to see right now, but in the video you can check it out. And let's drag this across. So it'll take 2 seconds to cross the screen. You can press Enter to test, or Control Enter to see what it looks like in the video screen. Okay, so that's your basic motion tween. If I'm on the black selection tool, I can hover over this motion line and I can kind of tweak the curve. Okay, the other thing we looked at was if you click on the line in between the two keyframes, we can adjust the motion tween property. So rotate won't do anything because it's a circle. You won't really see it rotating, but you can do that. You can ease in or out. Again, ease in means it takes longer for it to start. Ease out means it takes longer for it to stop. Okay, easing is great, especially if you have like an object like a car or something. You want it to kind of, come to a stop, or you want it to accelerate. Then you can play with easing. It has a nice look. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer. I'm just going to call that layer motion tween. Okay, say you have a layer that you've done an animation on or a background, and you don't want to accidentally click on it. You can click this little padlock on that layer. So now I can't click on this. Okay, very useful for backgrounds, but I'm just going to do that on there. So layer 2, this is going to be my shape tween. So I can use my object here that I created for the shape tween. Does anyone remember what I have to do to actually do this? Perfect. So we have to break apart. So I can right click and say break apart. So that'll get rid of this blue border. Now I can do a shape tween. So what I have to do is insert a blank keyframe. Insert a blank keyframe. And then I have to insert a new shape. So let's go for a red rectangle. Here's a little trick. I want to make sure it's in the same spot. There's something here called, where is it here? Onion skin. Onion skin allows you to see kind of previous layers or previous frames. So I'm on a blank keyframe, but I can see where this previous one was. This is very helpful for frame by frame animation, but in this case it's also helpful. So let's draw that square. I'm actually going to convert that into a symbol if I want to use it later. But because I'm doing a shape tween, I have to break that apart. I'll turn onion skins off. And I'm just going to right click here and say create shape tween. I just right click on the timeline. So right now I have 2 keyframes. My timeline is just gray. And I just right click right here in between and say create shape tween. So it's going to tween from one keyframe to the other. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I got a ball jumping over the other ball, and one is turning into a square. Okay, and motion guides, I did show you guys motion guides last time, so you can check out the video. But I would suggest for motion guides, you can get the same, basically the same thing for motion guides if you just add a couple more keyframes. So I can say, I just right click on my timeline, insert keyframe, all. And then I could, unlock that. And then I can, change the curve on this line. Actually, any one of these points, I can change it. Actually, that's going to be a little bit crazy now. But if I wanted to make my my path, I could adjust the line like this. Okay, but if you did want to do a motion guide, it has to be on a classic tween. So for those of you that have done Flash before, you may have learned the classic tween. And the classic tween is basically where we, I'll set it up very much like a shape tween, where I have the two keyframes, and then I right click on the frame here and say create classic tween. Okay? And actually, let me move this keyframe somewhere down there. I'll just hide these other ones for now. Okay, so that's my classic tween. I don't find it as useful as the standard motion tween because it's this one is a lot more flexible. Like I can change the curve. I can I don't know. Yeah, you can't add easing or anything to a classic tween. You can't add rotations to a classic tween. So the other motion tween on this blue ball, you have a lot more options, okay? But one thing you can do with the classic tween quite easily is to add a motion guide. So I just right-click the layer, add motion guide, and I'm just going to use the pencil, and I'm going to draw some kind of crazy curve. Okay, now with this one, I want to get this little circle in the middle of it to snap to the beginning of the line. On my second keyframe, make the little circle snap to the end of the line. And now, oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me try recreating that guide layer. Maybe with a brush, might be better. Let's try it again. Okay, so I want to snap this to the beginning of the line, and then snap this to the end of the line. There you go, that worked. And of course you can hide the guide layer. I actually don't think the guide layer will show up anyhow when you export it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys one more thing quickly. So I'm going to insert a new symbol. So far we've been creating something and then selecting it and pressing F8. The other way to insert a symbol is just to go insert new symbol or control F8, and that will allow you to create a symbol in its own frame basically, and then you can drag it from your library. This time I'm going to do movie clip, and I'm going to call this bird. So I'm going to make a flapping bird. So I've created a movie clip which is basically like a flash timeline inside of a symbol. So you see here I've got a timeline, so I'm going to create a body for the bird, and then I'm going to create wings for the bird. So the body, let's just I'm going to make a blue bird. Oh. Okay, that's not a very good bird, but that's fine. Now, I can make this a graphic as well. So I'll call this bird body. So it's a symbol inside of a symbol. Okay, so it's kind of like symbol inception. And then let's make a wing too. For my wing, I'm going to looks kind of like a wing from Super Mario. And let's call this wing. Okay, let's just make that a little bit smaller. There we go. So there's my bird. And what I want to do is make the wing go up and down. So to do that, oops, I just realized my wing is on the wrong layer. So I'm going to cut that, click on the wings layer, and paste in place. So, okay, there we go. So I'm going to create a motion tween on the wing. You'll notice the body disappeared, so I have to right-click on the body layer and insert frame, just so that the body will extend throughout the animation. Now, at the halfway point, so at 12 frames, I want this wing to be at the bottom. So the first thing I want to do is to actually move this. This is the rotation point. So I'm going to move that to the very bottom. So now you'll see when I resize, it's going to go from that point. If I didn't do that, then it's going to do this. Okay, you don't want that. So let me move this again. And you have to do that with the free transform tool. Okay, so now we're at the halfway mark. I'm going to grab that free transform tool and I'm going to drag the wing down. And it's going to insert a keyframe. And in order to make it go back to the starting point, I'm going to actually control click the first keyframe and say copy frames. And then I'm going to control click on the last frame and say paste frames. Oh, that didn't quite work. Why did that work? Okay, well, no problem. I'll just drag this back up. Okay, but the idea is that I want it to be the exact same spot. So we could turn on onion skins. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so there's my bird flapping. I only have one wing, but that's fine. You could add a second wing. But one wing is fine for now. You get the idea. Okay, so now we go back to our scene. And my bird is an object here that I can drag into my scene. So let me create a new layer. I'm going to call this bird. Let's drag him in. And I'm going to resize that. Now, I'm just going to do a simple motion tween, make this bird fly across the stage. Like that. Okay? You'll notice when I hit enter to test, the wings aren't flapping. Okay? So movie clips will only animate when you're using the control enter. So now you can see my bird's flapping. Okay, pretty cool, hey? So I could even add a flock of birds just by throwing a whole bunch on. Let's resize this. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of birds on the same layer. I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'm going to tween all of these at once. So it's going to convert them into one big symbol. And I'm going to run out of time here, but hopefully I can show you quick. There they go.